of people sharing some of their favorite Baba stories. And, they needn't be, you can either read them or just tell them. And so, and if you, or you can just listen in if you didn't, this is kind of a last minute for some of you. But anyway, I thought I would start out, it's so weird. Somehow, how come this camera?
We see you, Jeff.
Yeah,
We see you.
Yeah,
yeah,
we see you perfectly.
I know, I'm
So,
having to look at my little dinky computer here.
so you brought
Oh,
your monitor with you?
Huh?
Is it plugged in?
Yeah, everything is fine. It just, I was fine until suddenly it clicked. Anyway, here's what. So I thought I would start out and get get it going. And I came to Baba in the late 60s, and there really, there were Baba's teaching, there was God Speaks, there were the discourses, and you had the God Man. But the God Man was kind of a chronicle of Baba's life. You didn't get so much of the stories. But when we started going to India, in the 70s, the early 70s, you actually, in Mandalay Hall, on Mara's porch, you could hear the Baba stories, the human side of Baba. And so this is one of the stories that made had a deep effect on me. I mean, we're hearing these stories about Baba that were not in the books. There were very few books back then. So this is a story that Erich related, and from time to time he would relate this. I've never seen it written down, but this is as I remember it. How Baba, what lengths Baba will go to help us in some of our most desperate moments. And this is how Baba helped a couple of people. There were these two families in northern India, very devoted to Baba. Many of the stalwarts of in Baba's world lived there. And these two families were very close, big extended families, as you can find in India. And the son of one of the families married the daughter on the other family, and the daughter of the family married the son of the other. So there were two couples, and of this joined family. And what happened is the husband of one of the couples got involved with the wife of the other couple. And they didn't tell anybody. They were panic stricken. And so what they did is they decided they are going to go to see Baba. Now he planned a kind of on a pretext of taking a business trip. That was his plan. I don't know how she did, but they came all the way from northern India to Prasad. They fell at Baba's feet, and they confessed what had happened. They had great remorse, and they desperate, asking Baba if he could help them. So this is what Baba did. I mean, I'm hearing this as a young kid. These are things that you just didn't read in the books. What Baba said is, as a condition, you have to never reveal that this has happened. And what he did is he said to the man, now you go back home, don't reveal this to anyone. And then what Baba did, so he left, and Baba sent a letter to her family, to her husband, and said, I want your wife, I want your daughter to be with me and the women Mandali. And so, of course, the family and the husband was honored that Baba wanted their daughter, the husband's wife, to be with the women Mandali. So Baba kept her there, I think at Prasad the whole time, and for 8 or 9 months, She had the baby. It was given to one of Baba's Mandali, one who lived in Pune or Bombay, and then she went back up and rejoined her family. And both families, no one among the families uh, ever knew about it. And in India, like these, extended family, Baba kept the harmony between these two families and protected them from, and the couple protected them from being humiliated and scandalized for the rest of their life. So, I mean, wow, what our beloved will do for us, you know. So anyway, that was my story that touched me very much when I was quite young, Baba. So is there anyone who would like to tell a story? Now, I'm thinking not like real long, I mean, because a number of people have chosen stories, but we'll go for Chicago out there. Marvin Schaefer.
Oh, okay. Well, it's kind of a short story. It happened directly to me when can you hear me all right?
Sure,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah. What happened was I first arrived in India and I knew nothing about Baba, except that he was who he said he was. And I was brand new, like maybe 2 months after having learned of him. And I wandered around. I needed some money because I lost all my clothes. So I had to go to town and cash a cashier's check and buy some clothes. And I was wandering back and looking at all these shrines and temples and things, and I finally got to the shrine of Meher Baba, and there was no one there. It was very February. It was getting very hot. No one was there. Not a soul. The
What
only
year? What year roughly?
90,
Okay.
February of 90.
Yeah.
And so the only person that was there was Nanakir. And as soon as I approached, he asked me if I wanted to go in the tomb. And I said, sure. And so I went in. And when I came out, he offered me some prasad. And I said, okay. And then it was very hot. And I just sat down for a second. And Nanakir comes behind me and taps me on the shoulder. And he says, excuse me, I have to go somewhere. I have just a very short little errand to run. And would you mind watching the tomb? And I said, sure, I'll watch the tomb. What do you do? And he says, well, if anyone comes, you do exactly as I did. You tell them to go in the tomb and enjoy his presence. And when they come out, you offer them some prasad. So I said, okay, I can do this. So he left, and 10 seconds later, the blue Chevrolet pulls up with all 5 women in the Chevrolet, and that was Mani, Meru had just passed, Goher, Meru, anyhow. They all went inside in the tomb, and when they came out, I did as he instructed me. I gave her I didn't know who she was, and I gave her a hug, and I offered her some prasad, and I said, "Welcome home." And she died laughing. Oh, well. And I just stood there, just totally embarrassed.
How did Mani take that?
She accepted the prasad. She kept laughing all the way to the car. Telling all the other ones, did you hear what he said? He said, "Oh, come on."
Beautiful.
Jai Baba.
Okay. Oh, am I the one that's calling? I guess I am. Let's start. I guess I'm going to go from left to right. So, Sally and Prakash.
Jai Baba. This was my first book when I started reading about Baba. This is The Real Treasure, Life of a Resident with Avatar Meher Baba's Mandali. And great stories in this book shared by Rustam Falahati. And this one in particular is called The Butcher. So I'm going to read this. This is a story that Mansari Desai would often tell us. Once, Baba was in a good mood while addressing his lovers. He asked them, "Do you know of anyone who is more compassionate than I am?" "I'm the most compassionate one." No one replied. When Baba repeated the question several times, one bold Baba lover from Karachi got up and said to Baba, "I know of someone who is more compassionate than you." Baba asked, "Really? Who is that?" The man replied, "The butcher. The butcher is more compassionate than you. The butcher kills with just a single slash from his sword, whereas you, Baba, first pull off a person's hair, then you peel off his skin, then you carve his flesh, and then you kill him slowly. Certainly, the butcher shows more compassion than you, Baba." Baba just laughed. Jai Baba.
Beautiful. Oh man, a butcher is more compassionate than you are. Oh my God.
I wonder if that was my father.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's something he could do, you think, right? Okay, let's go with Joshua.
Yes, okay. I'm giving the short version, but if anyone wants the longer version, I encourage them to read it in Erich's book. That's how it was, where he describes it. This was a story that Baba would tell the Mandali. And to preface it, this was, I love this is my favorite Baba story, especially because, when I was over in India, I met a Baba lover and they thought that Baba didn't approve of me being a homosexual, and they thought, no, Baba would never want you to get married to a man. And so, but this Baba story is talking about it exactly. And it's where Baba says, he describes of a perfect master who was a Hijra, which is a member of the sort of transgender and also sometimes intersex community in India. And there was a perfect master who was a Hijra, a Sadguru, and there's lots of funny things that happen, but the Hijras at that time were quite oppressed, and a lot of people persecuted them at various times. And there were some elders of a community who wanted to prove that this Hijra perfect master was not a genuine saint. And so they devised a secret ploy where they dressed a man up as a woman and got two men to be married by this perfect master Hijra. And so just to prove how false this perfect master was, and then so they did, and they dressed a man up as a woman, and they did the marriage ceremony. And then the two actors that were pretending to get married had the idea. One of them said to the perfect master, "Oh, please, you're a great saint, bless us with a child." And the perfect master says, are you sure you want a child? And they say, yes, yes, give us a child. And the perfect master says, are you sure you want a child? And keeping in mind that they're both like two cis males, or two biological males. And they say, yes, yes, of course, bless us with a child. And then the perfect master says, okay, it's done. And he finishes the wedding, and then they go about their day or whatever. And but then the actor who had pretended to be the bride starts to get a bump growing on his stomach, and he realizes that the perfect master has in fact performed a miracle, and he is in fact pregnant. And it's then that all the elders realize what a great mistake they've done by trying to prove this saint wrong, by trying to trick this saint, well, her, actually, I should use the correct terminology. I'm sure that the saint would rather be termed as a female, but yeah. And so then all the elders and the people that persecuted the Hishra community have to go to this Hishra saint and ask her to undo the miracle that she's done, because what will happen to this man if he tries to give birth? And the perfect master says, no, I want you to go to each member of the community and ask them to pray to God for you, so that, to sort of just rub the face in the people that had been persecuting all these Hishras. And so they all had to do it. And then eventually the baby, the pregnancy got terminated or whatever. And so that actor was safe. And yes, that's my favorite story.
Yeah, beautiful. Was that told by Baba, do you think? Did Baba tell that
Yes,
story?
Erich says Baba told it to the Mandali, and it's in Erich's That's How It Was, and also in Lord Mayhair as well, I think.
Yeah, wow. Beautiful. Mayor Prasad.
Yeah, Jai Baba. So I remember this story, which it really impressed me because it shows Baba's humanness and really very, very endearing quality that he showed to everyone, Mandali and everyone else. I don't know where I'm sure it's published, and I'm sure most of you know it, but I don't remember the source of it. So this happened probably either just before New Life or after New Life. Baba and Eruch went on a must trip, and they're very exhausted. And on the way back, they stopped by in Bindra House in Pune at Eruch's place. And because they're so tired, they need to get freshened up. So they go, they need to take a bath, and Baba tells Eruch to go take a bath so that they can freshen up and have some food. And Eruch says, Baba, I have, why don't you take a bath first, because I have certain things here and I don't want you to mess this up. It's a small bag of his medicines and all. It contains one of the Baba's digestion pills. So he's, Eruch is very methodical and very organized, and he has this bag of medicines in there. So he says, Baba, why don't you go take a bath so that I'll get this ready for you. And Baba says, no, go ahead and go take a bath first, and I won't touch anything. And Gaima, Eruch's mother, is watching all this, and Eruch says, no, Baba, I know you'll mess up something and it'll be a big problem. Why don't you go take a bath first? And Gaimai tells Eruch, why don't you just go take a bath? Baba is telling you to do it, just go do it. So Eruch tells Baba, okay, I'll go take a bath, but don't touch any of this. And he goes and he goes into the bath. And in the meantime, Baba, is ready. I think he has lunch or something, and he wants to take out the digestion pills out of the box. So he tells Gaimai to take that pills out, and then after a moment he says, no, wait, I'll go take it, because you may not know where it is, and I don't want you to mess up. So he goes and takes that out, and it, as he's doing it, it falls on the floor and everything is broken. and then he's very concerned about that, and he tells Kaima, no, it all fell down now Iruchkan is going to come out and he's going to be angry. Why don't you get a broom so I'll clean up? And he starts to clean up. And Gaima is really very frustrated with all this, and she says, "No, Baba, let me do it. Why are you talking about? Why do you worry about Iruch like that? Who is he to be angry on you?" And in the meantime, Iruch hears this noise and he shouts from inside the bathroom, "Did something break?" And then he immediately, finishes his bath and comes out, and he sees all that on the floor, and he yells at Baba, "See, I told you not to touch it, and you broke all this. Now, it's all messy and it's all gone." And Baba, asks forgiveness from him. "Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that." And Gaima looks at this, and she's very frustrated, and she tells Iruch, "Go away, Iruch, from here. Who are you to do it? You are nobody." And then that's Iruch. I think he ends the story there. And then that whole story is very endearing, where Baba is afraid of what Iruch would react and how he'll be angry at him, and he's like a child. And in later years, Iruch said that I was an ignorant fool. I didn't realize who he was. I was presumptuous to just react in a way that I did. But that was a very endearing story, and how Baba is, it shows his humanness and the childlikeness.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, he was, Bob would be even a little afraid of of
Yeah.
of Erich's anger. Can you
And Gaima,
imagine?
Gaima is very, who the heck is Hirosh to say anything to you, Baba?
Yeah, thank you. Well, okay, Rosalie.
I have one that I've loved a long time. There's a close lover of Baba's, Joseph Harb, who I used to love to go and visit. I met him at the New Life play that the Supis were putting on, and he's just walking down the aisle, and I just thought, I gotta know that man, just out of the blue. Anyway, I had such good times with Joseph. He just loved Baba so much. He was the Sufi that the young Sufis would have a good time with. He lived outside of Berkeley in Orinda. Anyway, he shared a lot of humor with Baba. And you would see him in films, and he'd always have a camera around his neck. And for those that have been to Myrtle Beach, he took that beautiful shot of Baba that's in the barn over the fireplace. Anyway, Joseph was born Valentine's Day, February 14th in 1894. So Joseph says to Baba, I came first, Baba, because, I want you to have an easy coming. I didn't want you to have problems. He said, I got everything ready, so you could just come and go and just do it fast. And Baba says, you got it all wrong, Joseph. The only reason I came was you were kicking up such a fuss and screaming, and then I came to see what was the matter. That's my story.
Beautiful. I know, it's great the kind of humor that people could share with Baba. Okay, we'll go Raine. Or she's disappeared around the corner there. While we're waiting for Raine, let's go for oh, here she is.
Hello.
Raine. Yeah.
I thought I would start off quotes, not just stories, because if I try to think of stories, I flood with 5,000 stories and can't work them out. But this, I went to get this book, and of course they all tumbled out, all the various wonderful editions of this astonishing book that we were gifted by Baba due to a Sikh, intelligent Sikh with 100 questions for Baba. And all the answers given to that Sikh are the statements in Everything and Nothing. They're the answers to the questions. And Francis was ordered to write them down. Baba then, because he had spoken them, he somewhat edited them, and then he had Erich and Francis re-edit them, and we have this astonishing book with things that Mani said the Mandali had never, ever heard Baba come out with ever before. And when we first went to the readings, I had read the discourses, which I misunderstood, but got a lot out of them, especially about inferiority complexes and superiority complexes being the same was the main message I got out of reading 3 discourses for 2 years. But anyway, being so young. But then when I finally got to the abode by 69, they were reading Stay with God. But in between Stay with God and the God-Man and Listen Humanity, we would always read this book while the next book was selected, The Nothing and the Everything. And when I came across this phrase, I finally it was like the alphabet board split open and I got it, not quite on that level of the perfect master of seeing the universe, but somehow this phrase sorted out heaps of things I already had studied and not understood. Whether men soar to outer space or dive to the bottom of the deepest ocean, they will find themselves as they are, unchanged, because they will not have forgotten themselves nor remembered to exercise the charity of forgiveness. Whether men soar to outer space or dive to the bottom of the deepest ocean, they will find themselves as they are, unchanged, because they will not have forgotten themselves nor remembered to exercise the charity of forgiveness. Meher Baba. And whenever in deep water or anything, I just have to read that again and I feel completely focused again. And this book, I kind of use it as an oracle as well when I just feel like reading something different. And you remember that Baba answered all the questions and the Sikh was satisfied with the answers. But then one day he thought of another, he told Baba he was satisfied, as you know, and that this was all he needed to know. But right after he left, the book is The Everything and the Nothing, well worth memorizing. And then the Sikh said, he remembered something he'd forgotten to ask. So he came back and Baba, you must be so happy I answered all these questions. But Baba, I thought of something else, and would you answer it? And this story I love. It's very short, Jeff. He said, well, Baba, it's occurred to me that if you know all of this, how can it all be kept in this small, tiny body of yours? And Baba said, oh, can you see the threshold at the doorway? He said, yes. He said, can you see the trees over in the meadow, the paddock? And he said, yes. And can you see the horizon? And he said, yes. Can you see the sun and the sky? And he said, yes. And Baba said, and all that with that tiny little eye you can see.
Beautiful.
But
Yeah.
that answer's not in here, but it's in
Yeah.
it's on a video somewhere.
Yeah. How can the infinite be bottled up in that little finite form?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, let's see, Marian from Manhattan.
Okay, hi. Mine is a I'm just setting my timer because I don't want to drag it out. So something that I chose was a story that I wrote for my memoir. I do a lot of memoir writing and memoir writing classes at my one of my senior centers. So I'm going to read a personal story that I wrote, and it was for my memoir class. So it's people who never heard of Baba. So it won't be like I'm speaking exactly to Mayor Baba followers, but it's based on so I have it in a file for my son. My son had rescued a dog many years ago, and she was kind of wild. And I had to take a lot of dog training classes and to help her. And I took care of her a lot. She's no longer living, but what I wrote was back in 2012. But this is based on The Power of His Name by Preeti Hay. It's a piece that was written in a magazine where Preeti Hay is writing about how saying Baba's name and what that blessing is. So I'm not going to read the whole article, it's too long. But in it, it says, the question arises, should one take his name internally or say it out loud? Baba explained, in the presence of any wild animal or other creature, such as a snake, you should loudly cry out my name, so loud that the sound of my name falls on the creature's ears, which will make it as meek as a lamb. But before inanimate objects, during any serious mishap or accident, such as a car crash or train wreck, you will be saved by remembering me with full faith from the bottom of your heart. So I read that because that's based on what I'm going to now read to you that I wrote for my memoir class. So this is called Georgia and Baba. Georgia was the dog's name. So I'm writing to my class. As a student and devotee of the perfect master, Meher Baba, I have a specific spiritual practice. Meher Baba means compassionate father, a name given by his disciples, the word father being one of the infinite names of God. I use the word Baba as a mantra, which is designed to calm the mind and change the chemistry of the brain. I was taught that by saying the name aloud and silently throughout the day, in times of stress or danger, the word, the vibration would arise automatically and provide an inner accessible intelligence. A calm presence would override a terrific emotion. This has been my habit for almost 45 years at the time of this writing. That was 2012. So this is the story. It was a lovely summer day. Georgia, the dog, and I were walking in Central Park near East 102nd Street. It was a weekday and no other dogs were in sight in this area. We strolled in a shady glen with towering trees and a small hill on our right. We paused there in solitude when suddenly a huge dog appeared. He walked over a low slope at the end of the hill and was facing us about 40 feet away. I recognized the breed as a Mastiff. He was 2 to 3 times larger than Georgia. He stood in quiet angst, ready, alert. Georgia spotted him and immediately the hair on her back stood up. She leaned forward and strained at the leash. The other dog slowly walked toward us. Georgia pulled, jumped, and bared her teeth, barking and lunging. The other dog kept walking very deliberately and steadily toward us. The Mastiff was trailing a leash. Thinking the owner must be near and on the other side of the hill out of my sight, I frantically kept shouting, "Get your dog, get your dog." The barking was loud. I expected to see someone come running over the hill to drag their dog away. No one appeared. The Mastiff reached Georgia. They lunged at each other and began biting and growling and barking. Standing on their hind legs, they locked front paws, so it was impossible for me to pull Georgia away. I was terrified and yelling. The feeling of helplessness, intense fear, and being bad and wrong ran through my body like lightning bolts. Suddenly, the Mastiff stopped fighting and began to retreat. Just as I was feeling slight relief, he turned again at his starting position and began slowly walking toward us for a second attack. There was no place to hide. The tree next to me had a small trunk and I got behind it, but knew it was not a safe haven. As the dog crept closer and Georgia again lunged over and over, a sudden calm came over me. I opened my mouth and shouted, "Baba, Baba," really shouted. It rang out of me, out of a silence in me, clear, strong. The mastiff stopped, as though a shield had been put in front of him. He was not startled, nor did he look afraid or threatened. He slowly turned, walked up the slope and over the hill and out of our sight. Georgia calmed down as though nothing had happened. I stood still. It is what I call grace, shifting into a self that is totally present and powerful. When the danger was over, some emotions came back. I wanted to run up that hill and follow the dog so I could chastise the owner. I knew better. The owner might be far away and the dog provoked. I had surrendered and it was time to let go and just move on. That's it.
Beautiful, Marian. Lovely. Wow. Thank you. All that in Central Park.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's try Michael.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I went to India in '74, July. In fact, I traveled to India, traveled to Ahmednagar on Silence Day, which was quite an event, getting on the bus, and I was the only pilgrim there at the time. But when I arrived, there were about 4 or 5 Westerners, and Erich was just getting into telling stories. And he told the story about the last night of the new life, which struck me by the emotions that he felt and by the predicament that Baba had put him in, and the meaning of it. I mean, I've been thinking about this story now for what, over 50 years, a little bit less. And there were only 5 people left in the new life, the companions. And they came to an abandoned mosque. And Baba's bed was inside the mosque. And the 5 men slept outside. And I believe Erich was on night watch. And also inside the mosque was a dove and its family. And it was making dove noises. And Baba clapped and told Erich to remove the dove because it was disturbing him. But no sooner had Erich gone about to do that, Baba clapped again and said, "To leave it go, leave the dove alone." And what he said, which Erich should not include in the written description of it, but he said to us, Baba told him that you have almost ruined the new life. And we will deal with this in the morning. And the next morning, I don't remember exactly where Baba was. I picture him against the wall, seated. And he told the companions to hit him as hard as they could with their sandals. And if they hit him too lightly, he would just say, "No, hit me with all your might." They weren't allowed to hit the face, but the chest and the arms. And I could tell that when Erich told this story, it was as if he had never told the story before, and the shame, the pain that he felt in striking his beloved was palpable. I mean, I could relate to it in my own experience, and it never left me. And if I was ever to do a wood carving of it, I pictured Erich being on the ground, just beating the ground, feeling helpless, much as he felt after the accident in '56. And Baba said, "You made an error." I said the dove was disturbing me in my human aspect, and you were supposed to differentiate. What a thing to do to him. differentiate between my divine aspect and my human aspect. And of course, Erich would always obey Baba, no matter if he told him to jump off a bridge, he would do it. And here he's telling him, you should have told me that I was wrong in throwing out the dove. And the quandary that he put him in, and the pain that Baba went through because of this, of something that we just take for granted. I mean, we're always saying something unkind to people. Oh, you're late, and do it with this sarcastic air. And all Erich was going to do was throw the dove out the window, which is not, in human terms, is no big deal. But to God, who's in everyone, the only way to balance that was to hit him as hard as the companions could. And they were so unaware of what we do to each other, how the slightest indifference or insult or sarcasm, or when we just take our frustrations out on each other, that the pain that we're giving the avatar. So that story never left me, and made a big impact. So
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
I don't have any great conclusion.
Yeah. No, that was a very powerful event that happened there at the end of the new life. Yeah. Okay, we'll go to Raine. Are you just commenting, or shall I go on to?
It turned out that tucked in the everything and the nothing was Erich's memorial. I just opened the back page. You're not going to believe this, Michael. Of course you're going to believe this. Pendu said to Erich, "That was one of the most difficult things I ever had to do in my life. Why do you think Baba made us carry out such an act on his person?" And Erich said, "I think, Pendu, that is his way of giving an example. Well, I think this whole episode of the nesting bird in the mosque was just an excuse and Baba's way of telling all of humanity as a whole to be humble and not to be angry and not to be cruel." So hearing your beautiful way of telling the story, this was an extreme way to point out to everybody and them not to be angry and not to be cruel.
Yeah.
He said that the theme of the new life was to be kind to each other.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And we were to treat Baba as a companion, but also treat him as God. So that means that we never know who we're talking to. You know, there was this other little story that I love. There was a woman who wanted Sai Baba to come have dinner at her place. She wanted to cook a meal for him. So he finally agreed after a long time. And she spent the whole morning cooking. And of course, the Indians tend to do everything on the ground. And the dog would come by and try to eat the food, and she would shoo the dog away. "This is for Sai Baba. It's not yours." So finally, the dog took off, and it was time to pick up Sai Baba and bring him to her home. And Sai Baba said, I can't come." He says, "Why?" "Because when I came earlier, you shooed me away."
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. He's in everyone. Hey, so, okay, Dyan.
Hey everybody, Jai Baba.
Yeah.
This is called He Wanted to Embrace Me by Bal Kalchuri. In Satara, I began keeping night watch near Baba from midnight until 5 o'clock a.m. One night, Baba called me inside. He was lying in bed and making some signs. The room was dark and I could not see Baba's gestures clearly. but I saw both his arms moving and thought he wanted to embrace me. Feeling very happy, I bent down and spread my arms around him. Baba's face took on a very astonished expression and he exclaimed, "What are you doing?" I quickly stood up. Then he said, "I asked you to cover my body with the blanket. What are you doing in the dead of night? I am alone here with you, and who is there to come to my rescue?" I felt abashed and covered Baba with the blanket. The next morning, Baba came to the men's Mandalays quarter. Pointing at me, he said, "This man is peculiar. Last night I was feeling cold and asked him to cover me with a blanket. And then in the middle of the night, he began embracing me. I was so frightened, I actually began to perspire. And being silent, I could not call on anyone for help." Baba chuckled as he reenacted the scene, his frightened look and my open arms, and everybody laughed.
Beautiful. Very good. I remember that. Mahu.
Yes, and good evening to you and all. And Meher Baba. Well, I like to share, I joined late, so I had to ask, two people, what is the subject? And they told me, short story about Baba. So I like to share, I was contemplating which one should I share. There's one about, with Adi Senior when he was a secretary, Baba's secretary. And there is one for from Mansari. But I thought I'd share the one from Mansari because people, haven't probably heard a lot from Mansari. So we just honor that. So this story actually came up in that The Real Treasurer, number 3, the series of book that Rostam Falahati, the resident, Mehrazad, actually, he lived in Mehrazad for a while with the Mandalit, and put together as his contribution. The title of this story, I just read it, is Mansari with a Psychoanalyst. It's an exchange between Mansari and someone who approached her, and he happened to be a psychoanalyst as a profession. So the psychoanalyst come to Mansari and ask him a question, and then the story says, Mansari then added, "Do you know why the person feels lighthearted?" And he actually started talking about his exchange, the psychoanalyst, with his clients. He had some difficulty after they leave and his state of being. So he had difficulty and he shared this with Mansari. Now notice that it doesn't have to be a psychoanalyst. We are in Baba community, maybe approached with this and that and questions, and we can take to this heart. Anyway, Mansari says, do you know why the person feels lighthearted? Because he unloads some of his sanskaras to the one who is listening, Mansari says. Whereas the one who is listening takes on the sanskaras and so begins to feel heavy. Over a period of time, the listener can even go into a depression. The psychoanalyst approached interested and commented, it's true, because over a certain period of time, the psychoanalyst has to connect with his teacher or colleague in order to de-stress or unload his burden. He added, I didn't realize that we were collecting sanskaras. What should we do to avoid being burdened because of our profession? Now that could be any profession. And Mansari replied, it is very easy and should be done by everyone, no matter what their profession is. but especially by people in your profession. The problem arises when you start taking the responsibility on your head of curing that person. When your limited I asserts, I am responsible, I have to treat and cure this person, then you take on the burden of his samskaras. The correct thing to do is to remember Baba and offer every act to him, Mansari says. You begin by invoking his presence, asking him to use you only as a medium to reach out through you, to treat, to heal the patient. Your job and responsibility is to do your best by becoming a completely submissive medium for Meher Baba's work. This transfers all the samskaras and the burden of the treatment and cure to Baba. Remember, you have to do your best as a medium. And then Rostam Falahati continues, the psychoanalyst thanked Mansari and left. Years later, he told Mansari that he had practiced the way she told him and had benefited from it. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. That's
Beautiful.
my story. Yeah, actually, I posted in social media 3 days ago, and it got a lot of response. So I figured maybe a lot of people liked it. So I'm sharing.
You know, Mansari used to tell this this joke where these two psychoanalysts were working in the same building, and one guy would, at the end of the day, he'd be so burdened, you know, and weighed down, and the other guy would kind of come in whistling and then leave whistling, you know, and this went on for about a month, and the one guy said, you know, how are you able to, you know, I mean, it's so I feel so heavy listening to all these problems. I mean, what is your secret? You know, you're listening, you know, all these people are sharing, you know, unloading all of their problems. What is your secret? And he says, who listens? That was Mansari. She used to say that. So, Goer.
Oh, Jai Baba, everyone. Jai Baba, good to be with you. So, Jeff, I had a problem selecting a story because there are so many, and especially coming from my father and, you know, having grown up with him and so forth. But anyway, I narrowed it down to, I selected 3 of them, but I'll go with one, and then you let me know if I can go further. I don't want to take up too much time. So this story is about my father, and it's about obedience. I guess it goes on that topic. It was at a time when Baba had given his instruction. He was in a period of seclusion, but he had also given instructions to his closest mandali that nobody was to see him, or if he was even sighted by accident, that they should turn their faces away from him and pretend and just not, you know, see him. So this is how it goes, and it's in my father's book, The God Seeker. So I'm just going to quickly read it from here. So Minu narrates, one day in February, this was in February of 1941, right in the middle of the war. One day in February when Baba was in Delhi and I was in the Sindh CID, which is like CIA, I suddenly felt an urge to go immediately to Delhi to bathe in the holy Ganges River, then to go on a pilgrimage to other places of special interest because I felt I was about to break Baba's bombshell orders. I knew that a leave of absence from my job was impossible at the time, but nonetheless, I asked my superior officer. He just laughed at me. Not more than a few minutes later, however, he sent for me and threw down in front of me an immediate order from his own superior officer, commanding me to leave at once for Delhi on an urgent, secret, and delicate assignment. I was dumbfounded. That same night, I found myself on a train for Delhi, accompanied by an armed guard and traveling at government expense in a special reserved compartment. Arriving at the Delhi train station, I was standing on the platform when suddenly I saw Chanji, and shortly thereafter Gustaji and Meher Baba himself, traveling incognito. Mindful of Baba's standing order that at such times his followers should pretend that they didn't see or recognize him, I immediately closed my eyes, put both hands over them, and turned away, knowing that Baba and the Mandli with him had also seen me. I felt great joy at having seen Baba even for a moment, but great sorrow as well, since I needed him so badly at that time and knew, given his state of seclusion, that I could ask for nothing more. I retired to an inexpensive hotel near the railway station, the Royal, where several of us from the CID were staying. That evening, feeling terribly depressed, I climbed up on the roof of the building and simply cried, kneeling to Baba wherever he might be. When I returned to my room, I couldn't get to sleep until late in the night. But early the next morning, there was a knock on the door. When I opened it, Chanji stood there with messages from Baba. Baba was very pleased that I had implicitly obeyed his orders by closing my eyes and turning away at the train station. He was staying in the hotel right next to the one that I was in, the Hotel Regal in room 13. I was in the Hotel Royal in room 13. So Chanji says to my father, which is not stated in here in the book, he says, go and knock on the wall. He didn't tell him that Baba was in the hotel next day. He says, go and knock on the wall. So my dad knocks on the wall. And in reply from the other side, he hears 3 knocks coming back at him. So that was Baba in the very next room on the other side. And then Baba's asked through Chanji. Chanji says, Baba wants to know, what is all this nonsense about going to bathe in the holy Ganges River? Now, my father had not spoken of that to anyone. So, he knew of my plans, though I had mentioned that to no one. When I told Chanji that for the past 2 nights I had dreamed of Baba and was desperate to see him, Chanji replied that Baba's orders to me were, do not worry, no necessity for any pilgrimage, go back. But then he also found that this was the time when they were looking for special musts, and that my father had been, summoned to Delhi for this special work as well. So the next day with Chanji, they went and found this must somewhere near the Taj Mahal. So to me, that encounter was profound and mysterious, indicating the closeness and that continued to link us internally, despite the gaps in time and space that lay between us. The meeting also gave me an opportunity for which I was most grateful to further my master's work in a special way. Being able to perform this special work for Baba consoled me somewhat for being unable to see him, though I was but a few feet away from him. So close and yet so far.
Now, Goer, how did they even know that your father was in the next hotel?
Yes, there is a the answer to that eludes me right now, Jeff. But there was a way that I think maybe it's Chanji. Somebody met him later on that when he first saw Baba and turned away. I think on the road somewhere, somebody else had met him and he had mentioned to them that he was at this Royal Hotel. So maybe that's how they knew. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Right, something like that, though.
Yeah.
Well, we'll you've got some more, and we'll go on right now.
Yes, go ahead to somebody else, and if we have time, I'll share.
And I was with your daughter there at the Usahavas, and I saw her getting her photograph taken. She's having a wonderful time. Really, and a very beautiful daughter you have. I mean, just beautiful soul. Anyway, what's your story?
I mean, we have several stories, but we chose this one. I think this actually happens most of the time in our lives, basically. So this is from Constant Companion. and the story is called You Will Never Go Hungry by Shatrughan Kumar. One day in late 1950s, while I was with Meher Baba, the beloved master turned to me and gestured, "How is everything with you?" I replied, "Baba, I am fine, but sometimes I feel disturbed by the inequality of the world, where the rich have so much and poor so little." Baba continued, "Don't you get good milk from your buffaloes? And doesn't the best rice in India come from Dehradun?" I said, "Yes, Baba." Baba went on, "Have you any debts?" To which I replied, "No." "Then why worry?" Baba told me, "Remember me and remain happy. What more do you want?" I said that time seemed very uncertain, and though I was not poor, I was not without some worry. To this, Baba casually assured me, "Don't worry, take it from me that I will see that you never go hungry." And then the conversation passed on to other topics. Some years later, in early 60s, the Kumbh Mela, a great religious festival, was being held at Haridwar, which is about 30 miles from where I live. My mother, both elderly and blind, asked me to take her on the first day of the Mela to Haridwar so she could bathe in the holy Ganges. Hundreds of thousands of pilgrims attended the Kumbh Mela, and there was so much congestion that all public transport was stopped the previous day. So before sunrise, I took my mother on my motorcycle over the back roads to a spot near Haridwar where my mother could bathe in Ganges. She did so and was happy. On our return, however, after going about 6 miles, a tire burst on my bike and we were stranded in the middle of nowhere. There was no help available, and the nearest village was at least a mile away across the fields. To make the matters worse, the terrific dust storm began. But as it turned out, the storm forced a car which was on its way to Dehradun to stop just beside my motorcycle, where it waited until visibility was possible. I walked over to the car and prevailed upon the driver to take my mother with him to drop her off at the Earl Hospital, as I had a cousin who worked there. He agreed, and I arranged with my mother to have my cousin send a mechanic to me as soon as possible. The dust storm abated, and I felt relieved to have gotten my mother to safety. But I was still on the road with my broken motorcycle. Not only that, but I was informed by various people walking by the nearby village was notorious as the home of fierce dacoits. The day started to get hotter and hotter, and I was getting very thirsty. But I was afraid to go searching for water for the fear my motorcycle would be stolen. And if I left it behind, I asked someone if there were a well nearby, and they said there was, but it turned out to be dry. So I wheeled my motorcycle under what shade I could find and prepared for a long, hot, thirsty wait. As the time went on, I began to get hungry too. Suddenly I remembered Baba's promise to me. In spite of telling me that I would never go hungry, I was I was doing just that. And I became quite happy thinking of the telegram I would send Baba upon my return to Dehradun, informing him that he had broken his promise. My hunger was entirely forgotten in this loving and mischievous delight, but just at that moment I noticed someone walking across the fields to me. As the person got closer, I saw that it was a boy carrying a bundle on his shoulder and a brass bucket in his hand. He came right to me, put down the bucket, which was filled with water, and unwrapped the cloth, which contained four thick chapatis and potatoes and vegetables heaped on the top. He told me this was for me. I said, "Do you know me?" And he said, "No." "Then how can this be for me?" I asked. In his turn, the boy asked, "Do you have a put-put?" The local term for motorcycle. I said, "Yes." At which the boy replied, "Then you are the one I am supposed to give this food to." But still wanting to make absolutely sure that the food food really was meant for me. I pressed the boy to explain more fully, and he told me that his mother, who lived in the village, had been taking lunch for her husband working in the fields when she had overheard me asking someone whether there was a well nearby. Knowing from this, and I was a stranger, when she got home, she told her son that their village had a guest and he was hungry. So she gave the son the food and the water to take to me. Satisfied that food was really meant for me, I had one of the thick chapatis with some of the vegetables. I then thanked the boy, but he insisted I have another. After all, he pointed out, you don't know how long you will have to wait here, and it might be hours before you eat again. So I ate another chapati and vegetables. When I finished, the boy urged me to have another. I protested that I was full, but he kept coaxing me until finally I gave in and ate another, at which point he said, now there is only one left, so you might as well eat that and finish it all. But I insisted that while you could put the remaining chapati on top of me, you could not find any more room for it inside for me. And finally, he wrapped the last chapati on the cloth and took it home with him. The bucket of water he left for me, and it was such hot day that I found that every 10 minutes or so I had to take a sip. Finally, that evening mechanic arrived and I was rescued. As I rode back to Dehradun, I thought, not only had Baba not kept me hungry, but he had my benefactors turn out to be villagers who were feared far and wide for their highway robbery. The joke which I had meant to tease Baba about turned out to be on me. When I told Baba about this, he smiled and gestured. I am the one who never breaks his promise. Jai Baba.
Ah, thank you, Jaisimha. Beautiful.
Jai
I
Baba.
never heard that before.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see. Fred Stankus.
Jai Baba, Jeff, and everyone.
Yeah.
This takes me back to September of 1971. I was fortunate enough to be working in the airline business, so I got these airline passes. And so I visited India almost twice a year for about 6 years in a row. And my first trip was September of 1971. And I arrived at Marazad, and Erich greeted me, and there was hardly no one there. And he took me into Mandalay Hall, and he pointed to Baba's chair. And I went to Baba's chair, standing up with my hands folded. Being from the Catholic altar boy background, I thought that's what you probably should do. And he told me to put my head on Baba's sofa, on the chair. So I knelt down, and I reluctantly put my head down, and I felt his hand on my head, pushing it towards the cushion. So I realized that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to bow down to Baba and also anything to do with Baba. And so then they said, let's take Fred to meet Mera. So I went out through the garden to Marazad's porch, Mera's porch. And Dr. Goher greeted me. And then Mera came out alone. And as soon as I saw her, I thought, oh, this is a special person. I should bow down. So I bowed down and prostrated myself at her feet. And she got quite emotional. Mera said, oh, no, only for beloved Baba, only for beloved Baba. I kept my head down, wanting to go dig a hole and disappear. And fortunately, I felt a nice warm hand on my neck. It was that of Dr. Goher, who said, Fred, I understand you just arrived. You don't know any better. In the subsequent years that I came by, about 2 years later, it was 6 p.m., a time when you used to be able to stay at Marazad all day. And I was saying goodbye at Mera's porch. And Mera was there with me. And I just had this inkling to ask her, are you the same as the Blessed Virgin Mary? She did, yes, like Radha to Krishna and Sita to Ram. I heard it with my own ears and I went, oh my. And so Mera then dropped one of those custard apples in my hands and I left. So those are two of the most, you could say, experiences that have been totally fostered in my heart and mind forever. Jai Baba.
Beautiful, Fred. Lovely. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. We were there at the same time. So Mayor Chand.
Hey, Jai Mayor Baba Jeff.
Yeah.
I'm going to narrate a story. It's most popular among the Baba lovers, and also Iruch has narrated many times in Mandali Hall. It is also published in Iruch's book called Is That So? That's about Krishna mask. There was in North India, one person by name Krishna used to work in the railway, and he was doing the job of a guard, the guard in a train. The duty of the guard is most responsible duty, and he has to attend, and he is the in charge of the total train. And he is also very great devotee of Krishna, Lord Krishna. So, but however, he was very conscious about his duty and was very punctual to attend his duty and all that. One day it so happened he went for a gathering of the Krishna's celebrations and all that. He was so much immersed in that program, he totally lost his sense and totally forgotten about his duties and everything. And then he was doing his Nam Jap and Bhajan. And after the program was ended, it was too late. He was supposed to attend the duty at certain time. And when he realized that he has to attend the duty, and then he rushed up to his office, to the station. And then he he came to know that already that the train was supposed to be attend, the train has already left. So he rushed up to the station master to apologize for his delay and all that. And then the station master, when he saw the station, but he was supposed to apologize to the station, but in contrary, the station officer was surprised to see him and says, "What happened to the train? There was an accident? Why did you came back?" Then he said, "No, I'm just coming to the office to join the duty. I don't know anything." Then, in short, I'm telling it's a very big story. And then he said, no, you have attended, and we had tea together, and you also signed the register, and now says you nothing. Then he realized, he realized that probably God, my Lord Krishna might have helped me in doing this. And then he immediately resigned and started doing his Nam Sankirtan. He resigned the job, and he's become like a total dedicated and must and singing about Lord Krishna's name, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And then he was totally wandering from one village to another village, but he never used to wander only in small villages. And Baba was in a must tour, and during that time he heard about this must. Baba wants to meet him, but Baba Mandali tried to contact him, but he was unable to do. Anytime he missed Baba missed. And one day Baba was resting in a rest house. He just heard the voice of Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Then immediately Baba and Iruch rushed up, and they found out. The moment he must saw the Baba, he rushed up and runningly and caught Baba, and with so intensely their interlock, so embrace was so intense that Erush says that portion I'll just read from the book, because he caught the sight of Baba and intentionally started running towards Baba. Even as Baba quickly ran down towards Mast, he rushed up together and embraced. It was a sight for the gods to see, the lover and the beloved locked in a seemingly inseparable embrace. So intense was their meeting that they fell down and rolled together on the road, locked each other's arm. I will never forget the demonstration of real love. Such is the love of the Lord for his lover, and such, and when the longing is intense and sincere, is how lover gets drawn to his beloved. That is the story of Krishna Mas, who lost consciousness of the world and in search of his Lord, and eventually found him. Baba used to call the Mas as his beloved children, and we could see why their love for him is so great, so pure, so touching. And Baba loves his children was even greater. The divine beloved comes for us and wanting us to love him, longing for our love. And when he creates love in us, and we then long for and search for him. And when our love reaches to the certain intensity, he comes in person and search for his lovers and to receive his love. It is all interplay of love. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Thank you, Marchand. Yes, a beautiful story of Krishna and Baba rolling around in the dust in this magnificent reunion. Let's see. You know what I'm thinking? we can always do this another time too. Mahu has her hand up, but we can also.
I have something short and humorous from
Yeah.
Kalchuri. If you,
Yeah.
I feel like I like to share something humorous.
Yeah.
Just came to me. Anyway, when we were attending Bauji's chat, sometimes he would tell us the stories and stuff, and I just remembered. So there was a period of time that Agha Beidul, Baba's Mandali Agha Beidul was living in Merazad along with other Mandalis. I don't know exactly the years, but I'll just tell the story. So Baba made this Agha Beidul like a secret man that he, look after all the Mandalis affair, how they're doing, how they're conducting themselves, if they're doing anything wrong, and if they're just, violating Baba's instruction or whatnot. And and then Beidul was doing such a good job just spying on them. He was like a quote unquote spy, spying on them and take the news to Baba, right? And so the next day that, or when the Mandali and Baba would get together, Baba would address that particular Mandali with whatever wrongdoing that he was doing and just say, well, last night you did this and this, unlike what I told you. And they were all, just silently listening, and they were, they felt bad and whatnot. And so it kept on repeating itself. So these Mandalis were saying, how would Baba knows about all these details? Like there's a lot of details happening. And so they tried to see, they said there must be somebody who is hiding somewhere and looking at us and taking all this and then go and tell Baba. So one of them somehow, anyway, so they started spying and they found Beidul on top of the tree, one of the trees, very close to where some of these Mandalis were, looking after them and, watching them so closely. So one day, one of the nights, it was nights, so that he was doing his job, they got together and they had a big bucket of water. As soon as he went to his post to start doing the spying, they just poured the whole bucket of water on his head, letting him know that we know you did it. So anyway, this Bauji said, and then this is very significant, and Bauji said, there was a time that I was a night watchman, and I was a night watchman throughout the night. And then Baba had me to do the correspondence after that, or send me to the post office right away and then come back. By the time I get to the kitchen to have a little breakfast, it was probably 9:30. It was already late, and I was late, but I had things to do. And they would happen every morning. So when he arrived there to the dining hall just trying to eat, Beidul says, "You are late again. How dare you are late?" And then slap him, slap on his face. And this happened almost some mornings. And Bauji, being so innocent and soft nature, wouldn't say a thing. So one day, after all this happened, Mani, Mani told Bauji, said, do you know why you're reading some of these books so well? And do you know why Baba gave you this duty of writing his biography? And, you know, he did nothing and everything, of course, when Baba was in the body, and then he started. It's because of, some of it is because of those slaps that Baidul was, put it, just bestowing on you. It just was, every time he was doing it, Baba was expanding your consciousness. Every time he was. So that's how Baba works. I thought I shared this with you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Bao used to say that the world they lived in was not anything like the real world. I mean, the world that we all live in, the world of Merazad. Now, let's see. Okay, Prakash.
Hey, Baba. Well, after that funny one, I have another funny story. This story was shared by Erich in the Mandali Hall. So, Baba, listen to it. This is from the book The Real Treasure by Rustam Walahati. So, the title of this is The Faith. A story which comes to my mind is a joke which Erich would share in the Mandali Hall. It is as follows. Once there was a man who was taking a stroll near the side of a tall cliff. He slipped on some loose pebbles and fell over the edge. As he was falling, he grasped a tree branch which was growing from the side of the cliff. Erich paused for a little while and then continued. You might have seen how trees grow out of the side of a cliff. It's strange that the tree managed to survive, but somehow it does. So it was lucky that the man grabbed onto the branch of the tree that happened to be projecting from the side of the cliff. Hanging on for dear life, the man screamed for help at the top of his voice. Is there someone up there? Is there anyone up there who can help me? As the man was screaming, a loud, thunderous voice appeared to be coming from the top of the cliff. The voice said to him, I am God and I can help you, provided you have faith in me and obey me. The man quickly replied, Yes, I'll obey you, but first help me quickly, as my grip is slackening. The voice said to him, Then let go of the branch, and I will save your life. There was a complete silence. The man did not reply for a long time. After some time passed, the man started shouting again, Is there anyone else up there? Let me read that. After some time passed, the man started shouting again, Is there anyone else up there? And everyone in the Mandali Hall laughed. Erich then added, We are all like that when it comes to having faith in Baba and obeying him implicitly. He has come. He has taken this advent just to save us from the clutches of Maya. All we have to do is to trust him and let go of our hold on Maya, which we so strongly cling to. But just as a man finds it difficult to let go, we find it difficult to let go of all the Mayavic distractions that we have been clinging to over lifetimes. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, yeah. Erich used to say, surrender is, giving that joke, surrender is that preposterous. You know, let go. Anyone else up there? I don't see any more hands. And we can do this another time too, but we could end with one more of Goer's stories. And we'll end and then we'll, and we can do this on another, so Ganesh has appeared.
Okay.
And Sham, it's his birthday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
if it's Sham's
we'll
birthday,
go with Ganesh first. Yeah.
If it's Sham's birthday, I'll let him go first.
Okay,
Or
Sham, it's your birthday.
happy birthday.
Yeah.
There is a funny story that one Krishna Baba, and all people were getting shape from a common barber sitting on the field. He also stood in the line in the queue.
Sham, you're
Oh,
breaking up somehow.
okay. I try to can listen. One Krishna Murti had gone to see Baba, and in the morning he had to shave himself. There was a common barber sitting in the ground on the ground, and he was shaving all. 6-7 persons were standing in the queue, and he also stood in that queue. But when after an hour his number came, another man, stout built, came and sat in the chair for his shaving. You are listening me? I am audible? No?
It's well, it's a little wobbly to me, a little breaking up. I don't know, but how is it for the rest of you? Raise your hand if it's if difficult for you to hear.
Yeah,
Make it out.
yeah.
Yeah, most everybody's having the same problem I am. Let's go. We'll go to Ganesh and then we'll come back to you and see if you get a better audio. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go
Okay.
for Ganesh and then
So
we're gonna come back to you, Sham.
yeah. So here is an incident which that happened during Baba's time, and it drives the important point that we don't know ourselves, we don't know our deeper layers. It so happened that there was once a young man in Pune who was living a good moral life and everything, and he wanted to dedicate himself to Baba and be for Baba's work. And he comes one day to Mehrabad and he meets Baba and he says, Baba, I want to be with you and all that. So please accept me and everything. And Baba says that, are you sure you would like to be with me and serve me? He says, yes, Baba, I'm such a good person. I would like to live with you. I would like to serve with you. I'm a young man and everything. And then Baba says, will you do what I will tell, whatever order I give or whatever I want you to do? He says, yes, Baba. Baba says, think thoroughly and tell me. He says, Baba, definitely whatever you say, I'm going to do. I want to serve you and everything. And Baba says, do you drink? He says, no, Baba, I don't drink and all that. Baba says, okay, go and start drinking. And this man says, no, Baba, how can I drink? I never drank and I want to live this kind of a saintly life and serving you. How can I start drinking? No. And Baba says, do you eat meat? And this person says, no, Baba, I'm a vegetarian. I'm a strict vegetarian. I want to live a very saintly life. And how can I eat and all that? Baba says, it's my order that you should start eating meat and everything. So, and the third thing then Baba says is that, do you go to brothel and everything? And this man says, no, Baba, I never even touch a woman. And how can I do that? All these lustful acts, I stay away from them. I want to be very saintly and all that. So then Baba says, then how will you serve me and everything? He says, Baba, give me any other order. I'm okay to do. I'm okay. Not this. These are not the things that like I can do while serving you and all that. So in short, he doesn't listen to whatever orders Baba gives. And then Baba finally says, okay, then go around visiting places and worshipping and visiting temples and all that. So he says, okay. So cutting this story short, later on, it so happens that he does everything that Baba was asking him to do, because then he gets involved with women, he starts drinking, he has meat, everything. And here Baba wanted, and then Rich explains this story saying that if he would have yes to Baba, it doesn't mean that Baba would wanted him to do all that. Baba was just getting his sanskaras to the surface, and it would have got dissolved had he said yes to Baba. So, and then this person does all that things which Baba was actually asking him to do. So he missed a golden opportunity. And there is an important point in this entire story is that we don't know ourselves. Like Baba knows us much, much better. He knows our past lives. He knows our sanskaras. So when we are with Baba and he has something for us, he knows it much better because we only see our surface of what we are at that point of time. But Baba knows deep within what we are, and he really works for the benefit of us. So his orders are very helpful when he gives us. It's just not the order, and it is like he knows better than we know ourselves. That's the story.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, Erich said that if he had said yes, Baba would have taken the sanskaras in him of alcohol and lust and the meat eating. Baba would have taken it, and he would have been free to that, but he didn't. It is too objectionable in light of his spiritual inclinations. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's also for us, like we feel we are so good, or I'm so good person, or whatever we identify. We don't know our deeper layers. Only Baba knows it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so let's see. My thought, you know, I was wondering, I had heard, Payam said that Nasreen had a story. Mahmoud? But she doesn't have to tell it now. We can do this on another time as well. We have, but I think that we should. Nasreen, did you want to tell a story, or do you want to save it for another time? Whoop! Can't hear you. Huh?
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to save it for next time.
Okay. Now, what about Sham? Let's see if Sham is. We can hear Sham.
Sham also maybe next time.
Okay. Even though it's your birthday.
Okay, then I try to relate again. There was one Krishnamurti, very famous Baba's lover. He went to see Baba in the early days, and in the morning he wanted to shave himself, and there was one barber sitting on the ground. He was shaving all one by one, putting one chair on the ground, and there was a small queue of 6-7 persons. Krishnamurti also stood in the queue, and after about an hour, when his turn came, another man, stout built, he came and occupied the chair. He said, I shall be shaven first. Krishnamurti felt it very badly. When my number is coming, it has come. Baba, what is this discipline in your area? And immediately a man came, and he thought that if Baba remove this man from this chair, I will trust in you. And a man came and told the barber that Baba is calling this man. But that man said, no, I will come in 5 minutes. And the man went back. Krishnamurti was again feeling bad. And then half of his shaving was complete. And on one side, it was leather. It was soap, and one side was clear. And Krishnamurti thought that Baba, if you call him back in this position, then I will trust in you fully. And immediately a man came. He said, Baba is calling you. The man said, I will come in 1 minute. He said, no, Baba has told that in whatever position you are, you must come. Barber also told man to go, otherwise Baba will be angry with me. And the man went in that position, half shaven, and Krishnamurti was very happy. And we thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah. Only half shaven.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Mahmood. Whoop. We can't hear you yet.
Okay. Do you hear me now?
Yeah. Perfect.
A 7-year-old boy named Jayanti regularly attended the Ahmadnagar Center meeting, but not yet met Meher Baba yet in person. He started pestering Adi and others at the center, persisting that he wanted to see Baba, to meet Baba. And eventually, he was taken to Meraza. Now this is what is happening in Meraza. Iraj is asking the boy, why do you want to see Meher Baba? So that real faith may be born in me, Jayanti replied. What do you do? What do you hope to gain after having faith? And said, I will find God, the boy answered. And when you have found God, what will you do? I will love him and serve him, Jayanti answered. The boy was taken inside the Mandali hall, and he reverently placed a packet of sweets at Baba's feet. He did not have to remove his shoes before entering the hall because he had already removed them before starting from Ahmadnagar. Baba embraced and cursed him, remarking, you are very fortunate. Jayanti nodded emphatically in agreement. When asked who it was that was seated before him, he answered simply, God. And said, well, now, do you have seen him? Ask him and what you will. What do you want from him? The boy gazed at Baba and said, love. Baba was delighted, and this reply was seemingly gestured, granted. Baba gestured, it was granted. So it is meaning 7-year-old boy with so much love. And
beautiful.
What eventually he got from Baba.
Wow. Wonderful. Very rare story. Hey, my thought is let's stop now, and then we can do this another time. And
yes, and we should be considerate of your time and people in Eastern time also. For you guys is what 11, almost quarter to 12. So yeah, we're in Western.
Well,
so
let's have a few moments of silence.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. Avatar Meher Baba.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Avatar Meher
Baba ki
Meher
jai.
Baba ki jai.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Avatar Meher Baba.
Meher Baba ki jai.
Then we have to end with Nasreen.
Okay. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for a lovely share.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Not all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
much,
Jeff.
much love.
Jai Baba Jeff.
Jai
Jai
Baba.
Baba.
Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Thank you for all the
Baba.
contributions, and we can always we have 700 years to kill. Stories, so just keep it up.
Isn't it only 650 now?
What's that?
Isn't it only 650 now?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. We're getting closer.
Oh, getting closer.
Okay. Yeah, much love.
Much
Thank
love to you.
Jai
Baba.
Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Happy birthday, Shams.
Happy birthday, Shamji.
Happy birthday, Sham.
Thank you, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba goer.